Why don't you say something, and then that way I can tell if I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Not... Something's wrong.
No, can you see me?
Can you try to... I mean, not really well. Can you try to...
It's really weird because this is exactly the same setup I have normally.
That's so weird.
I don't know what to do.
I heard you for a second, but now I'm...
I don't know what to do.
Well, why don't you just come over?
Over there?
Yeah, why don't you just come over here?
Yeah, I'll see you in a second.
All right. Wow, you got here really fast.
I know.
The traffic must have been super light.
It's amazing. I'm actually here.
Welcome, Conrad.
Welcome,
Hello.
Conrad, to America.
I know, my first trip stateside, and this is where I ended up.
This is an unprecedented development. It's one of the things that rarely gets the studio back in Saturday live stream configuration, and yet here you are.
Yes.
Forcing the issue.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm looking at something odd here going on, and I just want to make sure that everything's good on everybody else's end. Is everybody seeing an interruption?
No,
Or
I've got
you-
it on mine.
No, I know, but I'm saying just making sure that everybody's seeing an uninterrupted video feed on your end. Have you guys had a buffering or anything like that?
It was the teleportation that threw everything off.
Yeah.
That's right.
The wormhole just opened right here.
We have a weird disconnect going on right now, whereas the hosting computer is hardlined in, but for some reason Wi-Fi has been a little squirrely
Everything's
today.
good, they say. So.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Everything's
we're
good.
good.
All right.
So, yeah. So we normally have banter now. So, Conrad, what have you found about American Thanksgiving? Like, have you learned any new Thanksgiving-y, American-y things since you've been here in the States?
Yeah, pumpkin pie is weird.
Weird in what way?
Well, it's just like a starchy vegetable,
Mm-hmm.
and you put cinnamon on it and say, hey, dessert.
Yeah. I mean, you could put cinnamon on anything and make it dessert. Really.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was worth trying.
Interesting.
Yeah, in the British sense of interesting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other weird things you've noticed here?
Well, I really enjoyed when Michael took me to the World of Coke.
Oh yes, the late stage ode temple to capitalism. Yeah. And high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They ferried us into a room and showed us like a movie right at the beginning of the tour. And I blanked out. I don't remember any of it. All I know is that there are no other sodas apart from Coke.
Not here in Atlanta, for sure.
No.
It's the intent of the entire establishment to erase your memory and knowledge of any other brand. And also we have a very timely comment here asking if you've had the pumpkin spice latte yet.
Oh, there's a story about the pumpkin spice latte. Yeah, I made the mistake of having an oat milk pumpkin spice latte yesterday in Rock City. And yeah, we had to come home rather quickly because I think there was milk in there. I don't think they cleaned the machine between milk and oat milk.
They were supposed
So-
to, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but there were no accidents. The Jeep is fine.
It would have been fine anyway. The Jeep's carpet comes out and there are drain plugs in the floor. That's why it's the
Wow.
greatest. It
Just
is.
hose it down
Yeah,
from a distance.
The Jeep is the greatest vehicle of all time for that reason. Much like the Land Rover. It's built to be completely hosable.
Fortunately, that was not required.
No,
but
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I was in
Well,
Chattanooga.
You were.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we've been squiring Conrad around Atlanta area, showing him the sites such as they are.
Walmart.
Walmart. You know,
Yep.
we've done all the shopping excursions. We've compared Target and Walmart,
Yeah.
which is super important.
Yep. We made sure to buy really gaudy Barbies while he was at Walmart. Not his request. I just did that to add to the flavor of the visit. The only thing we missed out on is we should have bought a Snuggie while we were there.
Yeah.
I feel like there's still time.
There's still time.
There's
There's
still
still time
time.
to buy the Snuggie.
Mhm.
We have several more fun shows we're going to see while you're in town. And yeah.
Yep. This evening, we're going to see Home Alone with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra playing the score live. So
Yeah.
that's going to be really exciting. Looking forward to that.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is really weird having you here in person.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna sticking to our normal show banter. Welcome to Dreamland, everyone. The crossover podcast this time. We're crossing over with the Retroblasting live stream. So
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm here.
you can because you're
I'm
here.
kidding. I'm
So-
kidding.
So Michael's really the first time we've had a guest. This is the first time we've had a guest on Dreamland since we've been doing Dreamland.
Mm.
And you're also a guest. So the special guest is Conrad. He says that's underwhelming, but I disagree. I think it's extremely exciting.
The special guest is Conrad, the indentured guest.
That's right. That's right. So this time,
Oops. Crap.
well done, dear. So normally we put out our little clue that has like all of the different ideas of like what we might be talking about, and this time it was pretty challenging. Our special magic word for today was cuts. So here's a reminder of as Michael breaks everything. This is what it looked like, and so there are 13 or so clues hidden in this picture of all the different movies, little moments, little special moments, little cuts, small cuts out of the movie that we're going to be pulling out and talking about. And the idea for this kind of came from, I was thinking about how, modern movies have these huge set pieces. They're these big spectacle films, and they're done that way to get you to go into the theater to watch them, which is totally fine. But in terms of like a shared experience, there's nothing that really beats like 80s and 90s movies. And those small moments, it's not like always like the big moment in the movie that you remember. It's some little throwaway line that you constantly quote with your friends, especially if you watched like a really great movie with your friends as a kid or something. And then there's like a thing that makes you all laugh. For whatever reason, maybe it's an inside joke, or maybe it just resonates with you, and you just always say it, and nobody gets what you're referencing, but you get it, and it's special to you. And so I feel like we all of you probably have those as well. So we have those, and I thought it might be fun. A lot of times at the holidays when we were kids, we would have things that were like clip shows. And you'd always kind of roll your eyes when you tune in for your favorite show and it'd be a clip show. But I thought it might be fun to do a clip show where we all kind of share our favorite little cuts of our favorite movies and talk about why they're really fun for us. And you guys can shout out in the audience what your favorites are as well. And we can all kind of have a nostalgia fest at Thanksgiving, right?
Yep.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. So, and then at the end of this, as we've gone through a bunch of these, I can show you where all the clues are in that little image. So I don't want to like give them away yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with one that is one of my favorites that I quote all the time. No one ever gets what I'm talking about, but it's still just something that really resonated with me. And it's from the movie As Good as It Gets, oddly enough. And it's a scene where, if you've never seen the movie, Greg Kinnear is playing a man who is attacked, and he's having to go back and talk to his family who he's estranged from to try to get money from them. And he goes on this road trip with this jerk and this nice lady, and they're all three in the car. And Jack Nicholson plays this really, really grumpy, crotchety, horrible character, but he says the funniest things. And this is a scene of him doing exactly that.
We all have these terrible stories to get over, and you...
It's not true. Some of us have great stories, pretty stories that take place at lakes with boats and friends and noodle salad. Just no one in this car, but a lot of people. That's their story. Good times, noodle salad.
Good times, noodle salad is a quote that I say all the time when I'm kind of being ironic, and it's like, oh, I have to go, to work on Saturday. Good times, noodle salad. It's just become this thing that I say constantly.
I like the insert there where he's like, nobody in this car.
Yeah, just nobody in this car.
Just nobody in this car.
That's right. And that's sort of the implied thing. It's like nobody in this car is having noodle salad, so that's why I'm ironically saying noodle salad. Yeah. So there are a bunch of other moments in that movie that are hilarious as well, but if you want to get on my good side, just say good times, noodle salad.
Now, when you say that resonated with you, obviously you resonated with you enough that you wanted to put it into this clips compilation. What is it about that movie that is really important to you?
I think it's the idea that, and specifically that quote, that everybody else has these beautiful, wonderful lives, but not me. Like, I'm over here off to the side, like in the car with them, not having good times and noodle salad. But I can from my window in the car, I can see people sitting by the lake having, picnics and noodle salad. But I'm just kind of stuck in the car with like broken people. Hi, fellow broken people. That's why I love it. It makes me feel less alone in my misery.
Right.
Hey, happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson is amazing in that movie. Jack Nicholson also features in one of the clips that I have lined up. This is from 1987, The Witches of Eastwick. And it's a kind of my first foray into more of an adult drama as well as a horror fantasy thriller. So that's the reason why it sort of shows my development as a movie viewer. But in particular, I really enjoyed this scene in which, after meeting for the first time, Jack Nicholson propositions Cher's character and asks her if she would like to sleep with him after lunch.
What a nice offer.
Yeah, lovely. And this is what she says to him. If I can get it to play.
Is it playing?
No,
I'll
I think
do it.
you might have to do it for me.
Oh. How many insults was that?
I think it's 12 insults in 1 minute,
Yeah.
which I love. It's always been a favorite scene of mine because I'm the kind of person who would think of that kind of comeback like a day later.
Of course.
I'm not the kind of person that could just full stream of consciousness destroy another human being like that. I'm just not capable of it. But to watch Cher do it to it and just completely demolish him. My favorite moment in it is that she starts with, I think, and then she just corrects herself and says, no, I am positive. It's like, no, this isn't just sort of maybe. This is like, no, you really are repulsive. And I really
like
enjoy
the you
that.
smell at the very end.
Yeah, it's the way she delivers it. And you smell.
Now that I can't recall correctly, but that was in the midst of her trying to, as a career, she had kind of been screwed over on the movie Mask for the Academy Award. And was that between then and Moonstruck, or was that after Moonstruck?
Ooh, I think it is between. I think
Between.
Moonstruck was 88. Wasn't
Right,
it?
which was the gimme Oscar for screwing up Mask, if I recall.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's a great lineup, though, because it's her and Michelle Pfeiffer and Susan Sarandon, which was quite an achievement back in the day to get all three of them and Jack Nicholson in a movie.
Right. I feel like I need to rewatch that movie.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny. Jack Nicholson is great in it as well, but
Of
he
course.
always is.
Of course.
But yeah.
I remember all the hype around it when it came out.
Mm.
It was a very talked about movie for a long time. Like it was a movie that made a splash in the 80s. Like that was, you know.
Yeah, big glossy production with a great John Williams score.
John Williams?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Wow. Okay, well, I missed out.
Yeah, it's
All right.
devilishly fun. It's
Okay.
really good.
Good deal.
Mm.
Well, Michael, it's your turn.
It's your turn.
It's my turn?
Mm.
Just throw one up there. I don't care.
Okay.
I'll be able to speak to it.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with your clip from. I think I want to start with maybe Kylie.
Oh, really? We're starting with Kylie. Hey, everybody, we're starting with Kylie. I didn't plan that. Did you see how I gave her control? And she just started with Kylie. You know why? Everything starts with Kylie.
Do you want to set this up at all, or just play it?
This is one of the things I want to set up with this is that the clips that I chose are not just movie and TV clips from my youth. It's not so much about the age of the production or even when I saw the production. It's about, for me, it was showing a through line that as we continue to live our lives, we will experience and discover new cinematic and narrative moments that resonate with us, even if we didn't experience them then. So in this particular case, I had no access to this movie back when I was a child in the United States. And even when it played on Sky, when I was a kid in the UK, I always missed it. I never saw it. I finally got to see it thanks to Tony Roberts from Analog Toys sending me the DVD from Australia. And so what I'm trying to convey with this and a few other clips in my lineup here today is that some of these clips are from when I was young, and some of these clips are from when I was a teenager, and some of these clips are from just a few months to a few years ago. I don't think it requires youth and nostalgia for something to resonate with you. But anyway, this particular clip, it's showcasing Kylie's character being oppressed by this fastidious, awful, basically like a discipline marm. She's this kind of...
She's the foster mom, kind of, right?
Well, she's supposed to take wayward girls and make them palatable again.
Yes.
Even though Kylie's character is not a bad person at all. And Kylie discovers that this evil shrew has been throwing away all of her mail unopened before she can read it. And then this happens.
Oh, you wouldn't understand that. There's no love in you.
You're angry now, Laura, but in time you'll understand.
Doing any more time, even leave.
The court won't allow that.
Get out of my way.
I did it for your own good, Lola.
As somebody who went to a convent school, it was always a dream of mine to punch a nun. And I really feel like this was the catharsis of that for me. It was not quite a nun, but definitely playing the same role in a person's life and being that same roadblock, that same barrier to happiness. And to know that my favorite singer of all time happened to be in a movie where she punched said nun analog out of her way bodily. It did resonate with me, and not ironically. So I love that moment in this movie. It's awesome. I would watch it 100 times, and I have.
I think my favorite part of that clip is the sound that she makes once she hits her.
Oh, yeah. And there's an extended bit right after it, which I didn't want to play for copyright reasons, but right after she does that and she pushes past her into the dining room, she starts ripping off the frumpy dress that the woman made her sew for herself. And no, she's not naked underneath. It was the 50s in the movie, so she's got all kinds of, pantaloons and all kinds of stuff, bloomers and stuff on. But she's just yelling at her, and she's like stripping off this dress and ripping all the buttons off and throwing it to the ground. And then she says something else mean to the old lady, and then she leaves. And I slow clap every time.
Yeah, there's the other scene where she's in that same kitchen and she hits the cake with her.
Yes, the brand new
she
cake.
Karate chops it or whatever.
She brings her fist down on it. She punches it.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I'm ashamed to say I've never seen The Delinquents.
Oh, well.
We can put it on the to be viewed list because we've certainly been tearing through a lot of films that were like, you have to see this while you're here. So
you have more access to it where you are than we do. We had to have our DVD imported from halfway around the world. So, but yeah.
So I'm just imagining people making a meme out of Michael saying, I've always wanted to punch a nun.
That, you know what, that would be the least of my concerns over 12 years. The least of my, the memes they've made in other directions, that would be a cakewalk compared to, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess it's my turn now.
Maki, it's a movie called The Delinquents.
Yeah. And I guess I can read some chats. We'll be doing things differently this particular show. It's going to be a little bit more live streamy.
Hold on, I got to address K-Dog real quick.
Okay.
K-Dog, she has a number of movies, not just Street Fighter.
Yeah.
It's called IMDb. Look her name up. Broaden your horizons. There you go. Educate yourself. The internet is at your fingertips. K-Dog and I have a thing going. It's fine.
So Sal says, woke up randomly, just saying hi, love you all, and now back to sleep. Well, thank you, Sal, for dropping in. Kenny says, movie moments that made me from Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger's gearing up scene before he storms the compound. Welcome, Conrad. Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what's going on in that scene, but...
K-Dog, no reason to apologize. I'm riffing with you. You know.
Robert Diaz says, Wolfman getting kicked in the nards cemented Monster Squad into my childhood memory. Sometimes the simplest acts resonate with you. Definitely. So thank you. Thank you all very much for those. So I guess my next one, let's see. Oops. I'm trying to figure out, I'm just going to go in order. So this next one is, of course, one of my all-time favorite film characters, Wednesday Addams. I just love Wednesday Addams because she's kind of my personality. Like everything about her is something that I can hear myself saying and thinking. And especially this particular scene, which also stars, I can't remember her name, Kendall something, but she's Harmony in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Why are you dressed like that? Like what? Like you're going to a funeral. Why are you dressed like somebody died? Wait.
Oh, just absolutely wonderful. Every single bit of my teenage years is just encapsulated into that.
I'm just always fascinated by how, and I don't know how you feel about this, Conrad, because you talk a lot in your podcast about performance, and you also talk a lot about movies that center around young actors, explorers, things like that. So I know that's like a sort of subgenre for you in genre filmmaking. But I'd be curious to find out what your take on this is as well, is that so much of the Addams Family films, those two movies, were very dependent on young actors doing the heavy lifting with some very sarcastic, macabre, offbeat humor. And I just always am fascinated by how well those actors pulled it off. Whereas it seems like it's a real crapshoot. Like you and I were talking earlier this week about how the earlier Harry Potter movies were very uneven in that regard. Do you have a take on these films, these particular movies?
No, I think you're right. I think in the 80s and the early 90s, they had an embarrassment of riches in terms of kid actors that were just phenomenal. Like River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke, and here, Christina Ricci. I mean, she's just untouchable as Wednesday Addams.
I know.
I love the new series, but...
Yeah, I was debating talking about the new series, so I watched all of it. It wasn't terrible, but it also didn't feel like Wednesday to me. because as soon as you give her normal friends or other kids outside of, anyone else who are her friends, I feel like it takes away her otherness. Like that's what Wednesday is she's different. She's apart from. That's kind of part of what defines her.
Yeah.
And so when she has like a gaggle of friends, like she's not Buffy.
No.
She doesn't have a Scooby gang. But in the show she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because it's centered on her, whereas the movies tend not to be.
Right.
It's an ensemble piece. So yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like it breaks it.
Yeah.
Real quick, we don't need to tie it to, the only reason I pulled it was as supplemental discussion for this clip. But if you have the other clip ready to go from the first movie.
Yes, I do.
If you can just play that real quick.
Just have to get down to where it is. Sorry, it takes me a moment.
That's fine. We're getting there, people.
Okay,
All right.
got it.
just the subtlety of like the fact that actress at that age, you're going to stand there, you're not going to give off much, but it's going to be haunting because of what you're not giving. And then we need you to just flick that skeptical eyebrow just a little bit, just to freak him out.
She's amazing.
To freak out one of the freakiest looking people in the house is weirded out by this little girl.
I love it.
She was a brilliant performer.
Yeah, still is. But I mean,
Yeah.
as that character, I don't know if you're ever going to find somebody who can really top that. It's going to be hard to find a child actor who can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wolfie says that eyebrow raise.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is it over to me?
It's over to you.
Okay. Why don't we do a serious one?
Ooh, let's do a serious one.
So a clip from The Never-Ending Story.
Okay.
So,
do you have anything to set up for it, or?
I guess so. So I should say that I have this whole clutch of movies that I used to watch as a kid. I often talk about these 80s fantasy movies where a kid is transported to another world. And I used to watch them on a Sunday night before I had to go back to school again, which I didn't enjoy. So I used to fantasize about, just taking off with Falcor or whatever. But this particular scene in The Never-Ending Story, and The Never-Ending Story is one of two films that I saw in the theater. One of my first movie experiences in the cinema. I'm not sure which one I saw first. It was either Ghostbusters or Never-Ending Story. But I always remember this particular moment, which is where Atreyu is told that he has to face a magic mirror gate. And the challenge there is that he will see who he truly is. Now, just to address the comments in the chat thread, there's no way I'm going to put the R-Tax sinking into this one.
We're not going
sadness.
there.
No.
Can't do it.
We do want everybody to have some modicum of a good time.
Yeah.
I also feel like that is bordering on a large moment in that film because it is the thing that everybody talks about, whereas this is a little bit more of a deep cut. It's just kind of, we're more focusing on the either small moments or the not lesser known necessarily, but less discussed.
Right.
Yeah. And this is the moment where it always stuck with me because it's a fourth wall break almost.
Yeah.
It's the moment where the film interacts with you as an audience member and says, the Never-Ending Story is aware that you are watching it. And given that as a kid, escaping into fantasy literature was one of the places where I could project myself into a hero and be that great, fantastic, popular, strong, athletic kid that I wasn't.
Right.
To suddenly have this sense that that character might look in a mirror at some point and look through it and see me. I felt very seen and very exposed and very terrified watching that moment. And it's always stuck with me, that moment in The Never-Ending Story.
That moment always reminds me of Luke in Empire Strikes Back in the cave where he sees himself.
Well, sure. The difference being is that he's afraid that he's going to become what he fears the most. Whereas in this case, it's the fictional world encroaching on what you thought was your real life. You know, it's not just a storybook. possibly.
Right.
Yeah. It's a really, really, really great bit of visual filmmaking, and I'm not surprised that it came from those writers, that production. It goes back to what we've talked about a million times. I know you guys have talked about it a lot on Movie Oubliette, and you both talked about it on Dreamland, and I've argued in the comment sections of my own videos with people about it, is that the dumbing down of children's entertainment has not done us any favors. In other words, it's okay for children to have to wrestle with more complex concepts mythologically and even visually, and even emotionally with the characters. There was somebody just yesterday who was trying to do the whole thing of saying that, well, it's okay for Bionic 6 to be illogical and bad because it was made for 12-year-olds or whatever. And my point is, isn't that when you really want things to be of really high quality? Like, don't you want your storytelling to be really high quality? Because kids' minds are so impressionable. We've devolved to Teletubbies and God knows what else because of that attitude, and that it's done children no favors. So that kind of filmmaking from that sequence, that's why those movies stick with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I always remember it because it engaged my intellect, and I was 8.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was suddenly thinking, okay, this isn't just an entertainment for me to watch and escape into.
Mm-hmm.
There is an interaction between you as the viewer and the text.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And you are half responsible for creating the world that you are experiencing right now.
Responsible for its creation, but then responsible for keeping it alive,
Mm-hmm.
which was this thing that like it borders into like Toy Story land, where
Mhm.
you develop these worlds that like your toys have personalities and
Mhm.
all of these things. It's kind of the same thing where you're kind of writing these stories in your mind, and when you stop playing with them and stop interacting with them, do they die? And it's kind of heartbreaking, and you feel personally responsible for that.
Right.
I know that like when I started losing my imagination, when I got to be about 13 years old, 12, 13, and that starts happening, you still feel guilty and sad about it, but you can no longer access it's like you lose the key to get into that magical realm. It's really a weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, for all the people in the chat that are saying thank you for not showing the horse clip, you're welcome.
Yeah. We won't be showing the horse clip. So Michael, your turn.
Random, just, grab bag it.
Okay.
You tell me what you want to play, and I'll tell you what it's all about.
All right. So I'm going to go with another childhood favorite, since we're on childhood favorites, The Dark Crystal.
Oh, okay. This is I had to edit this clip together to get the bits that I wanted to show you that draw the through line. It's at the very climax of the story. It's right as Jen heals the crystal. But what always resonated with me about that sequence, and you'll see what I pulled out to make that possible, or what I focus in on the most. You guys have heard me talk for a long time on this channel about my genuine love of heroes and what it means to be a true hero in the classic sense, the genuine sentiment, the true selflessness. It's not about me. It's about the greater problem, or saving the greater society, or whatever you want to call it. Whether you're talking about Superman or Luke Skywalker or Robin Hood or whoever it is. And the Dark Crystal has this incredible hero moment at the end because Jen doesn't give a crap about himself. I'm gonna when you play it, I'm lucky that my headphones are off because I might tear up a little bit, because the person that he loves the most in the world has just been murdered right before his eyes, and he doesn't care about himself anymore. All he cares about is getting to her, even though she's dead. And so even though he heals the crystal, and even though the world is about to change around him in ways that even he can't conceive, he doesn't give a crap about any of that. And the way that Jim Henson and crew and Gary Kurtz were able to write that and then depict that and then and then bring it out is masterful. And anyway, I'll shut up so that you can see the clip. But see, this character has no guarantees that anything is going to reverse. He doesn't have any knowledge that that's even a possibility. He doesn't, but that's not what it's about. For him, it's like, it's all about, okay, I've done my bid for king and country, and I've saved the planet to whatever end that is, but I've lost everything. So, that's my fixation, is just getting to her, even though her body has no life left in it. It's a fascinating bit of filmmaking, especially in a children's story. I won't debate the merits of whether or not they, should have left her dead or not. It's a fairy tale. So obviously there are miracles that can happen at the end. That's part of the magic of kids storytelling. But the fact that they did it in the first place, which is something they wouldn't do in movies now for kids. They give you farting Twinkies that wear goggles and stuff, and they call that entertainment. Like, forget this crap.
When you talk about sacrifice in those types of fantasy stories, it reminds me of that scene in Lord of the Rings in the very last film where Sam and Frodo are there, and Sam's talking about, oh, well, we only have this much food because we have to have enough for the way back. And Frodo's like, we're not going back.
Right.
Like, and he's known that for, like, you can tell that Frodo's kind of known that for a while, and Sam is still just in denial fully. Like, yeah, we're going to do this thing. We're going to toss the ring in, and we're going to head back home and walk home. And he's like, yeah, this is a one-way trip, dude. So let's just eat all the limbus bread and call it a day.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. We'll eat it on this rock here surrounded by lava. Have ourselves a nice final meal.
Yeah. We'll just watch Obi-Wan and have their big lava fight right over there.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So do I now do a depressing one, or do I lighten the mood?
Ooh. Well, you haven't done a depressing one so far, so
Okay. Well, I can do a depressing one. So so I know everybody thought I was going to do a bunch of Buffy clips, and I do have a few, but one of the shows that I love so much and that has so many great little moments is Veronica Mars. And if you've never seen Veronica Mars, it's a great show. But this particular clip, just to set it up a little bit, the guy in the clip is named Logan, and he, up until this point in season 1, he has been a complete jackass. Like, you hate him. He is kind of her main nemesis. But his mother has disappeared, and everyone thinks she's dead, but he is in denial. He thinks she's faked her own death. And so he's hired Veronica Mars, whose dad is a detective and she is a detective too, to figure out if his mom where she is. Because he 100% believes that she's just hiding in a hotel, like pretending to be dead. And so he's waiting in the lobby of this hotel, and because they know that her credit card's been used there, and he's just waiting for his mom to come downstairs. And so Veronica calls and cancels the credit card. They make the person come out of the room, and the woman walks out of the elevator and goes up to the front desk, and Logan sees her, and he's like, that's my mom. And this is what happens. So there's something about, like, the elevator music in the lobby, the fact that he's already gone to her funeral, but he has been so staunchly believing that she's still alive. And in this one moment, like, you suddenly have empathy for this character who's been such an ass. Like, and you've started to have little moments of kind of liking him, but this is the first moment Veronica really feels empathy for him because he's been a complete jerk. And it's, I rarely have that, because I don't tend to forgive people, but you kind of have this huge insight as to why he's the way he is. And it's where you start kind of turning around how you feel about him as a character. And it's just like that really good writing where you can take a character that's such an ass and still somehow manage to make the audience root for them.
Mm-hmm.
It takes, for me to feel that way, it takes really good writing, and I feel like it accomplishes that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does, because otherwise you might just vicariously enjoy him breaking down.
Exactly.
But you don't.
It's like, this is the moment where he's like, oh my God, my mom is dead. And she was the only person in his family who was nice to him.
Mm,
So yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking.
it is.
It's a bummer. Sorry, everyone.
But there's something about seeing a man break down as well.
Absolutely.
It's transgressive almost in mainstream media to see a guy do that.
Yeah, I love it.
And from a character perspective, it's also, he's the most unlikely to do that.
Mm.
So therefore, when he does do that, it has extra impact. As a character. As a character in the show, even amongst the bevy of other male characters in the show, he's the least likely to do that.
Yeah.
So it has the most weight. It's what I've tried to tell people for years, where they're like, why can't you be more positive? And I'm like, I have been positive. And it's like, the reason my positivity carries more weight than that other guy's, because that guy dances around like Ronald McDonald in every video he does. So what good or value does his positivity have? You know? Whereas me, it's like, I'll reserve my comments. And then when I do finally drop positivity, it'll actually mean something. So in this case with Logan, it's like he's the guy that represses his emotions and doesn't do that. And he goes from either sarcastic to angry, backwards and forward. So the moment he does break down and start crying, suddenly it's like everybody stops and takes notice. And they're like, ooh, something real's going on.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Whereas that other person that we all know in high school that was crying about everything, including literal spilt milk, it's like, they're just crying again. Doesn't mean anything. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I can give you a touching moment between two men as well, if you
nice. I would like that.
like. So this is from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So to your point, Michael, about you can still find moments in movies that resonate with you even after you're a child.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see this movie when I was a child because this is from the early aughts.
Yeah.
But there is a moment in the final battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's between Peter, who is the eldest of the brothers, and Edmund, who is the youngest. And Edmund has been a complete arse throughout the entire movie and caused all the problems. And Peter is always looking out for him. And this is a moment from the final battle in that movie. It gets me every time.
It's really enhanced by the silent screen of his name, where you can see it, but you can't hear it, and it's more powerful because of the silence.
Well,
it is.
Yeah, because they're letting the movie be visual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The silent scream is a classic. It's been used in other movies before, but it's really great here. And and it's something also about the older brother coming to the younger brother's rescue, and the surging music in the background as well.
Sure.
Gets me every time.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, because the series got 3 movies in and then it was canceled or something like that. Why?
Yeah.
How did you feel? I'm not trying to jump from the scene, but I am curious because you pulled one of these moments from this series, truncated as it was, into your list. How was the series going for you when they just decided to pull the plug? Were you happy with all the installments?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a cinematic travesty in canceling this series.
Yeah, but I think they're developing a series with Netflix.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
So they're going to start over.
Yeah, as always.
Wow. Okay.
The question is, will they put a bunch of needless filler, since it's a Netflix series, to make it long enough, or will it be good?
Yeah. And can they find any British children that can act? Because
you're putting a lot of stipulations on this.
Yeah, they didn't manage too badly. I mean, you were saying about Harry Potter, the kids in the first few are pretty ropey, but actually in the Chronicles of Narnia, I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, I saw the first 2 in the series, and I didn't have a problem with the performers at all. It didn't jump out at me the way the first two Harry Potter films especially jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Greta Gerwig is on the Narnia series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very exciting. But
Mm.
yeah. But also for me, it's all about having an older brother coming to rescue me.
Well,
Because
yeah.
Gary, if you're watching, always had an older brother coming to rescue me. So that always resonates.
I was always
Nice.
the older brother, but I was always treated like the younger brother. So that got really weird.
I always wanted to have an older brother to come to my rescue, but I was an only child, so I just had to be Buffy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the scenery. I don't think Tilda Swinton has ever looked better in a movie. I mean, that's not a joke.
No, she's great.
She looks amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, great clip.
Yes. Love the book too, by the way. It's your turn.
Oh yeah, well, grab bag.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do it.
All right. I'm gonna go with what's the name of this movie? Jack Burton.
Oh, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Okay,
I feel like
so
we need to lighten the mood a little bit.
This is just one of my favorite little bits of offbeat humor, and it requires you. I like humor in movies where it requires the viewer to pay attention to the fast dialogue throughout, so that you can make the connections that they're throwing out there in little quips later that they're not going to linger on. It's setting up a joke over here that you don't even know is going to be a joke. And then suddenly over here in the middle of their screwball comedy style dialogue, they just throw out that zinger and then they keep moving. And it rewards the viewer that's paying attention. And that's what I love the most. So here we go.
And you can't just waltz in and out of there like
the wind. Yes, I can, Miss Law. My mind and my spirits are as one.
As two. I said I was coming.
I go with you, but...
I know, there's a problem with your face.
So he does this whole, Kim Cattrall has this whole bit where she's constantly reminding them early on in the film that she's like, I'd help you out, but they know who I am because I'm trying to stop them from all this human trafficking. So they know my face because of blah, blah, blah. And so finally, Kurt Russell is just... He's like, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to help you. And then she starts up with that thing. And he's like, yeah, I know. There's something wrong with your face. You got a problem with your face or whatever. And the way he says it is just very like, whatever. And you see her kind of like, she's kind of like, and everybody else in the background is like, yeah, we've heard your shtick before. There's a problem with your face. You're seeing or whatever. But the other part of this one of the reasons I really enjoyed bringing this clip to the table is because trivia time, he was suffering like 103-degree fever or something during that day.
Really?
Yeah. They were trying to stay on schedule, and he was a trooper, and so that entire sequence in that apartment where he's laying in that chair and they're talking about what they need to do to get to the place and infiltrate and do whatever, and then he stands up and. Right before that clip is his famous line where he's like, I'm a reasonable guy. I've just seen a lot of unreasonable things. Like that whole bit, he's literally burning up with flu the whole time,
It's insane.
which is awesome because he's still on it.
I mean, not for him.
No, but his performance is still right on target. Like he doesn't miss any of his comedic timing. He doesn't miss any of his lines. Like obviously they wouldn't have left that in anyway, but to know that he pushed through and did that and delivered some of the most memorable exchanges in the whole movie right there at the same time, I think it's genius.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just love the suggestion that there could ever be something wrong with Kim Cattrall's face.
I know, right?
Well, and that's the other part of the joke is that if you're not paying attention, you would say, did he just insult her looks? And it's like, no, he's referring to what she was saying, which was everybody recognizes me, therefore I can't go anywhere to help you. And he's like, yeah, I know there's something wrong with your face, which I love.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to pick a clip now that is just my favorite superhero movie badass moment.
Okay.
It is a small moment, so it's not like the big set piece at the end of Endgame type of thing. And it's my favorite superhero character and my favorite version of her. This is just a perfect moment. So here we go.
I mean,
Meow. I just love the way she does that could not be more perfect.
It's probably one of the best comic book villain entrances in movies.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
She's just, I mean, I know there's the scene of her earlier where she's doing the whip thing,
Right.
which is very impressive because she really did do it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's just the laconic way she says. It's like, oh, I suppose I should do my thing.
it's like, oh, I was just casually backflipping through the street. Yeah, like she's
Right.
just, I don't know who came up with that. I don't know if she sort of improvised the way she was going to say it. It's very small, but it's just, I can't describe what it is about it that makes it so amazing. And I think that's why it's so amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great timing on the part of the direction and the editing. It's a great way to introduce that character to the other two main players in the film who have not encountered her yet. And of course, right after that, you know, Danny DeVito's like, I saw her first, she's mine. He's determined to figure out what she's all about, you know, because he's like, ooh, she could be useful to me, you know, like. And Batman's just trying to do the maths on it and be like, oh gosh, what else do I have to deal with in Gotham City right now? I've already had to fight 40 clowns. Now I've got this penguin guy. And oh, here comes whatever this is, who just blew up an entire department store. Lasai. Like,
Which I guess is bad, but she is so great.
oh, I don't mind blowing up no, I don't mean it like that. I mean in movies.
That's another memeable moment.
No.
He's just slapping nuns and domestic terrorism.
There's no amount in movies, fictionally. There's no amount of wrecking buildings and or punching clowns that I won't get tired of, or that I will get tired of. Like I absolutely love it. We've loved wanton destruction in movies since Godzilla stomped a city. Now, if you could turn around and make a Godzilla movie where he strategically only stomps late stage corporate businesses and steps over everything else, that'd be hilarious. I would love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Watch out, Walmart.
All right, Conrad, it's over to you.
Over to me. Okay. Why don't I scare the living daylights out of everybody?
Okay, so we're going with this one.
We are, yes. So just a little setup for this one. This is from a little gem from 1985 called Return to Oz, which I didn't see in theaters. I saw on VHS.
Yeah.
And the moment that we have here is Dorothy is trapped in the castle of Princess Mombi, who has a habit of changing her heads like she changes her clothes. And Dorothy has snuck downstairs while Princess Mombi is asleep to steal the powder of life from her secret cabinet.
Nice. All right. Oh, I love it so much.
Well, I wet myself. I love it. People are like, oh, I hope you don't show the horse bit. And then Conrad's like, oh, hold my beer.
I got you.
It's just nightmare fuel, isn't it?
Oh, it's so great.
Absolute
Love
nightmare
it.
fuel.
Love it.
But I love it so much. And I think as a kid, what it first made me realize is how many different artists have to come together to create that perfect cinematic moment.
Yes.
Because it's Farrah Bulk's performance, it's the music, it's the direction, it's the camera angles, it's the editing. Everything about it just comes together to create this moment that still sets the hairs up on the back of my neck even now.
Yeah.
It's just
It is. It's the way she says Dorothy girl, like that is scary, and it's like the screaming and the music, and like you say, everything is perfect. And you don't know, like I always wondered, did the director envision it exactly like that in his mind, or did it just sort of like culminate as they were
in the
crafting
editing
it?
room? Yeah.
And
I
isn't
don't
that
know.
also
Amazing.
a Gary Kurtz produced movie?
It is, yeah, and directed by Walter Murch, who
Mhm.
was an editor.
See, Gary Kurtz, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Dark Crystal, Return to Oz. The man was a legend. He was an absolute legend.
Was he involved in Labyrinth as well?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I think George Lucas might have been slightly closer to that one, which meant that Gary Kurtz at that time would have been
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Mhm.
That is an incredible movie, Return to Oz, and that moment has stuck with me for many a year.
I was reading the Oz books around the time that movie came out. And while we got Wizard of Oz every year on during the holidays here on television, I was immediately aware, reading the original novels, that the novels had no aesthetic similarity or even sometimes story beat similarities to that famous Judy Garland film. So then when Return to Oz was announced and I saw the trailer for it, I was just like, oh my God, I've got to go see this movie, because I was burning through TikTok to Oz and the Tin Woodsman of Oz and the Road to Oz. And I was reading all of them. In fact, they're up in your guest bedroom right now. I was reading all of them. And so when I saw the way they were doing the aesthetic for that movie, that to me was I didn't see it as much as the Judy Garland one because of nature of not owning it as a child. But that to me was the real Oz movie, was that one.
It gets the tone of the books.
Mm-hmm.
But again, would you make that movie now for kids?
I would, but I would probably be blacklisted. So, you know.
I would, like she said, I would, but I don't know if the industry would be brave enough to do that, because they face the outrage of social media parenting groups who don't remember what they grew up on.
Well, there was a kickback against this, and it was really weird because at the same time, parents were shepherding their children off to see Raiders of the Lost Ark and watch Nazis' faces melt.
Right.
But for some reason, that was an issue. And I think it's something to do with tone, because the movie is so dour and so melancholy.
Well, it also deals a lot with mental health stuff, which was very taboo back then.
Yes, and you see a child getting electroshock and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, it also gets down to the whole thing of in Hollywood, they tend to be more lenient towards violence at a lower rating on the scale, meaning cinematic rating, than they do of horror on a lower rating. There seems to be a double standard there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because that was very, very effective suspense and horror. You know, I'm not saying
but
I agree
not gore,
with them.
just horror.
Yeah.
I love Fairuza Balk. I feel like I would watch anything with her in it. So she was also in this movie called The Worst Witch, I believe, that had Tim Curry.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Am I misremembering that? I'm sure someone will yell out if I am. I feel like she was at that very same young age. And then, of course, she was also in The Craft. So I have a tiny little clip from The Craft that I'm just going to throw in there just real quick, because it's adult Fairuza Balk, who is just always amazing.
Girls, watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.
It's the smile.
It's the smile.
Yeah.
She's just got stunning eyes and a great smile. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's, I guess I'm picking one for Michael now.
You're picking one for me now, because I'm on the far end of the table. There's nothing I can do.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with something a little different.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Old Thunder.
Oh, okay. Okay, so to set this up, so this is a wonderful William Wyler film called The Big Country, which is one of my favorite movies. Stars Gregory Peck. I don't want to hear anybody in my generation in the comments say, I don't like Westerns. Just suck it up, because this clip is awesome and you will learn something.
And it has a pony.
So this movie's premise is that Gregory Peck is a guy who was in the Navy. It's obviously takes place in the 19th century. So he was in the Navy up from the upper northeastern part of the United States. and he's just left the Navy, retired from it, been discharged or whatever, to marry his fiance, whose father owns a big cattle ranch out west. And they ride out there, travel out there to do that. And he starts to immediately get pushed back, even though he's not brash. He's not a braggart. He doesn't call attention to himself. He's very confident. But all of the cattle ranch guys, led by Charlton Heston, are giving him a hard time because he's city folk from, back in the... And one of the things they try to get him to do early on in the film is they try to get him to ride this horse that's in the corral that everybody notoriously knows will throw everybody off. The horse won't let anybody ride him. And Gregory Peck is not one to play these hazing games. And so he's like, I'm not interested. Because he knows what they're trying to do. So, of course, they try and claim that he's this coward and all this kind of stuff. And they ride off to go do something else. And they leave Gregory Peck behind because Gregory Peck told them, don't go right off to harass those guys. They weren't doing anything that bad. Like, there's no reason to stir up more trouble. But they are like, wow, you're just yellow through and through. So they ride off. So Gregory Peck is hanging out by himself now at the home of his fiance's dad, this big ranch. And it's him and the Mexican ranch hands that are there that he's already gotten to know because he also speaks Spanish. So he's been able to talk to them, get to know them. And he's just sitting there at the cattle fence, or the cattle fence. He's sitting there at the corral fence, just watching this horse called Old Thunder, the horse that Charlton Heston wanted to goad him onto that he refused to do at the time. So I've edited this together for clarity. So.
No. Come on. No. Come on. No. I'll give you some help, Ramon. Te voy a pegar. Hey. Don't ask me why, Ramon. Any advice? Yes. Don't do it.
Ooh.
So the idea of this whole sequence is that it's establishing further that Gregory Peck's character is not one who's interested in playing everybody else's game and impressing them on their terms, but that doesn't mean that he's weak. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't do things that other people would say are tough guy things. It's just he's not interested in doing them in front of people. He's doing them to personally challenge himself. And one of the things that he's able to do that nobody else can do, because his attitude is totally different, is he's able to get that horse to respect him mutually by the end of this whole ordeal that he's going through. But he's not interested in letting anybody know that. He's not interested in bragging about it. He's just him. It's just for himself. And the other cool thing about this scene that I love is the fact that everybody else on the ranch ignores Alfonso Bedoya's character by and large, who's the I can't remember what his name is in the movie. He just said it and I can't remember what it is. But Alfonso Bedoya and him have this immediate respect and connection because he actually talks to him like a human being. He asks him about his, his family sitting there when they meet, and he asks him how the ranch is doing and all those kind of things and all that kind of stuff. And so these moments happen very quickly where he's willing to help out Gregory Peck, but he also feels comfortable being able to look at him and say, don't do this. You're going to get your butt handed to you by this horse. Do not do this. Fun fact for everybody. So most of you will only know this line from Blazing Saddles. The line, "We don't need no stinking badges." Okay. That line was drawn from the Humphrey Bogart movie, Treasure of the Sierra Madre from the 1940s, where the bandit said badges what badges? We don't need no stinking badges. That actor in Treasure of the Sierra Madre was Alfonso Bedoya, who is the man in this scene doing this role with Gregory Peck in The Big Country. So he was a great actor, just a great actor.
It's a great scene. I don't know how they managed to get the horse to do all of the things it's doing.
It's hilarious.
You know, pulling the blanket off, biting people, jumping. I have a personal connection to this clip because years ago when we went on vacation, I got thrown off a horse. You put this in the video to sort of explain what happened to me because luckily we don't have footage of me getting thrown off the horse, but it did feel pretty much like that because the horse was bucking me off. And yeah, it was pretty terrifying. So I'm going to read a few super chats, get us caught up. So Headcanon says, Flight of the Phoenix, the look on Jimmy Stewart's face when it sinks in that guy they pinned their rescue plan on only ever designed model planes.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, I had Flight of the Phoenix in a short stack of movies that I was going to ask Conrad if he'd ever seen because I have it over there. So funny you bring that up. I love that movie.
I've only seen the modern one with Giovanna Ribisi as the model plane designer and Dennis Quaid.
It's not a bad remake as far as remakes go. But the original one is really good too.
Wicked Person says, curious to see if Conrad will try America-only junk food like Yoo-Hoo's, Moon Pies, root beer, and proper PB&J, etc. Well, you've already tried a PB&J.
Yeah.
I have, yeah. And yesterday on our car trip, we had Bugles.
Yes.
Which apparently is a staple of car
It's certainly
trips.
a staple for us on car trips.
On road trips. Yep.
I don't know how enthralled you were with any of those things.
It was interesting.
I think you enjoyed Tab quite a bit.
Tab was amazing.
Yeah. At the World of Coke?
At the World of Coke, the last place on earth you can taste Tab. Very nice, but not new Coke.
No, which was so weird. Great observation on your part.
I know.
So
weird. It is weird. You'd think that they would do it, but I think they don't want anyone to remember how bad it was. That would be my guess. Chris Bullard says, a lot of films I enjoy have a similar theme, but it has to be The Ghost in the Darkness, and I'm going to sort it out. It's a beautiful film about different coping strategies for fear.
Yes, the scene with Val Kilmer at the very end where he's like, he kind of cracks and he's like, I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to sort it out. I'm going to sort it out because he's finally he's finally been pushed to the edge of sanity because of all the people who've been murdered by these lions. And he doesn't know what to do. It's a cool sequence. Yeah.
Scott Knudsen says, movie moment that made me, Dennis explaining to King Arthur why his wielding Excalibur is no basis for a system of government. I have never looked at heroic legends the same way since.
Yes.
That is a hilarious moment. I don't know if it's supposed to be hilarious, but it really is.
Well, isn't that from Monty Python's Holy Grail?
Is it?
Yeah.
From that, I can't remember.
It's where the two peasants are working along the road in the mud.
Yes, it involves the phrase "watery bind,"
which
I really like.
It's much better with your accent than mine. King Eric, the greatest of all, says, "Will you folks be seeing the new Napoleon film? Any interest in that?"
Oddly enough, I've seen the trailer and it just leaves me cold. But it's Ridley Scott, so it deserves our attention, I guess.
I keep thinking I'm going to hedge my bets and wait for his ultimate director's cut of it to come out, and then just watch it on physical media.
I mean, that's fair.
Because
Kingdom of Heaven is incredible.
Yeah. Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut is incredible. Seeing that in the theater was special torture because it was so cardboard. It was just that, and Ridley Scott admits that in Napoleon, he's done something of a similar thing because he likes to work well with the studios where he's trying to get them as many theater slots as he can. But that means the real movie is waiting for discs.
On the other side.
And then, of course, I loved his quote about the French critics coming back on him recently where he's like, the French don't even like themselves. That was pretty funny.
And then Bradshaw Studio just sends us a super sticker. So thank you very much for that, sir.
Thanks.
All right. I think we're caught up. I think it's my turn.
It is.
So let's see what I've got.
Carolina Cowboy. Yes, I want to see Adam Driver's new movie about Ferrari. Yes, I do.
That did look interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to see Saltburn.
Yes, we did, which was quite good.
It was.
We thought it was hilarious. The rest of the audience
was baffled.
Didn't really seem to know what to make of it. We were the only ones laughing. I'm sure they thought we were assholes.
Yeah.
But Whatever.
Rosamund Pike is amazing, and
Yes.
it gave Michael a new catchphrase, which we cannot broadcast.
That's true. We can't say it here, but
It involves graves.
it does involve graves.
And intimacy.
That's right.
It involves Graves and Peters. Peter
Oh my
Graves.
gosh. Oh no.
That's my cinematic pop culture sort of dad joke.
Wow.
It
All
was
right.
definitely a movie that was kind of a Mission Impossible
Hmm.
in a way, aka Peter Graves. Anyway,
Oh my
all
God.
right.
All right. I have a very short clip that is just funny to me. It's from one of my all-time favorite shows from back in the day, The X-Files. It's from the first season, and it's Mulder being Mulder and Scully being Scully, and it's hilarious. So here we go. Oh wait, let me undo hide current comment. Sorry about that, guys. All right, here we go with The X-Files.
Think there's anything inside? Oh my God, Mulder. It smells like... I think it's bile.
Is there any way I can get off my fingers quickly without betraying my cool exterior?
Well, my top tip is don't flick it.
I know. He's like flicking it, and it's of course gonna like spray all over her face. It's just
Oh,
hilarious.
horrifying.
Yeah. I think it's bile. He's like, it's like, how far into the show does he have to get to not just touch the wet thing? Like, don't ever touch the wet thing.
Right.
Ever is the answer. Do you have your clip with him in it? Did you edit that?
No, I didn't put that in. I left that one out. Sorry.
You had a funny clip with David Duchovny from the movie Evolution.
Yeah, so it was just a little nothing moment in Evolution where he's trying to get Julianne Moore's scientist character to listen to him about what he knows about what's happening down in the crater. And he follows her back to her hotel where she and her team of CDC people or whatever it is are staying. And she's getting her key from the concierge or whatever. And he just walks right up in front of the concierge and up to the desk. And he's like, "Separate rooms, please. We're fighting." And that was pretty
David
funny.
Duchovny way.
Yeah.
He's just got a way of delivering lines. It's really funny. Anyway.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, why don't I show you a sequence that piqued my interest in special effects as a kid?
Is it?
It is indeed,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
And all you need to know about this is it's Poltergeist. It's 1982. I actually didn't see this in theaters, not surprisingly. I think it's a 15 in the UK anyway. And so I caught it on television years later. I was really late coming to it, and I absolutely love it. But particularly this scene where Diane Freeling is the climax of the movie. Diane Freeling is running back into the house to save her children, who are having a whole other experience in their bedroom, which we won't go into. And yeah, when she gets to the top of the stairs, this is what happens to her. It's just amazing.
By the way, everybody, that's exactly how it feels when you're, I don't know, the last 15 minutes of a 3-month edit on a video. Like you need 15 more minutes to cover. And you just feel like that movie just kept, that production just keeps going. What is it?
That effect is just so perfectly used right there.
It is. It's amazing. It's my favorite use of the Spielberg effect that everybody remembers from Jaws. I think Hitchcock used it in Vertigo as well, which is you're pulling the camera physically backwards and you're zooming in at the same time. So your spatial relationship with the subject of the shot, Diane, is staying the same, but the way that the lens works in terms of how it depicts space is changing.
Yes.
And it's just gives you that. And as a kid, I just couldn't figure it out. I thought, is she on a trolley being pulled backwards? No, the wall is the same either side of her. What is this effect? It's so weird. And the fact that they even pull it off while she's moving. So they are rolling the camera backwards while she's running away and zooming. It's so clever.
It's got to be really hard to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
The other moment that I can think of in film that's perfectly using it is in Fellowship of the Ring, where Frodo hears the Black Riders coming and he's on that pathway, and it's like it does that tunnel vision. I call it the tunnel vision effect. It kind of makes it feel that way.
Sometimes they call it the vertigo effect.
Yeah.
Because it was Vertigo. The movie Vertigo did it.
I actually didn't know how they did it until more recently when I was watching that scene with Michael. I was like, how do they do that? And he explained to me, which still kind of blows my mind because it's got to be really difficult to actually pull it off seamlessly like that. But yeah, this movie, Poltergeist, I saw in first grade. So I was like 7. It was like the year after it came out, and I watched it with my mom. I think she must have thought that it was a Spielberg movie, so it was fine.
That's what Spielberg was hoping we would all think.
And it terrified me. Like I was still. Is that the moment where Carol Ann has been sucked into the closet by the big pink throat looking thing?
Yeah, that's both the kids are sort of hanging on for dear life, trying not to be sucked into the throat thing again.
That throat thing coming out of the closet. I was terrified of my closet my whole childhood because of that thing.
Yeah.
I was. Oh my God. So
my brother had a major problem with clown dolls.
Sure.
After that movie.
That's just basic common sense.
Yes. Very understandable. All right. So it's
grab bag. Go for it.
You're so high maintenance. All right. Let me see what you got over here. I'm going to give you your Captain America clip.
Oh, okay. All right. So just play the Captain America clip and then we'll talk about it. This is from the first Avenger.
Women aren't exactly lining up to dance with a guy they might step on.
You must have danced.
Well, asking a woman to dance always seems so terrifying. Figured I'd wait.
For what?
Right partner.
Yeah. So before everybody jumps me, because there's always people that think that people's opinions operate in like binary, where it's like open, closed, black, white, you know, like you either have the switch on or off when it comes to it. Yes, I've made many overtures over the years about how I find the first Avenger movie frustrating from a story structure perspective once you get past the middle of the second act, and it just becomes this kind of montage after that. But that takes nothing away from the first half of the movie that I think was expertly handled. And this particular sequence that I just pulled that little bit from is one of the many examples of what I'm referring to, where you have a character who is actually two characters, really, who are afforded this very human moment in what ultimately became cut to the chase superhero mega franchise stuff later on. But what I love about this moment is you have this guy who has all the convictions and principles in the world, but he has none of the physicality or luck of physiology to pull any of the things off that he would want to accomplish. And yet at the same time, it doesn't deter him from being a decent person. And so we have this very human conversation where she's already seen him throw himself on grenades he didn't know was fake in boot camp, and she's seen him be the best of everybody in the platoon, without a doubt. And even she probably had some misgivings about this guy at first, just based on visual prejudices or biases or whatever it was, you know, because he was so small and so scrawny. And then to not only having seen what a great person he is as far as being willing to sacrifice himself for others, even the people that treat him like crap, or to doing what's right for the platoon, trying to fight tyranny and all this kind of stuff. But then this very vulnerable human moment where he admits that, yeah, he's got insecurities about trying to ask women out, and he just gave up because, you know, he's like, I figured I'd just save myself for the right person at this point. You know, like whoever I can finally ask to dance will be the right girl, you know, and that's when you see her really start to realize this guy is a cut above everything. And he's not even the super soldier yet. So anyway, I love that little bit of character business right there. I think they did a good job.
It's a rare moment of character business in Marvel.
Yes.
Yes.
Very rare. I find that most of the really great character stuff in the Marvel movies happened prior to Disney's acquisition as the first Avengers film came out. All of those Paramount films that led up to, so the first Thor, the first Captain America, the first Iron Man, obviously, and then I'm not going to go into my opinions about the first Avengers movie. But after that, you get a few stumble offs I do find Age of Ultron to be a very, very, very strong film that survived regardless of what the studio Disney meddling did to it. But by and large, there's a lot of great character stuff in the first few. So,
well, in a completely different vein, my next clip is so one of the things I love about 80s horror, going back to horror, is practical effects, because we didn't have a whole lot of other options, right? And sometimes it's something that's so simple as an effect that really just sticks with you and is so terrifying. Even if you can completely see how they did it, it's still terrifying. And this is a perfect example from Nightmare on Elm Street. Just gives me chills even now. It's just so good. And it's, I mean, obviously it's some sort of plasticky sheet that he's just going like this, but it's
a rubber. It's a piece of rubber.
It's a piece of rubber and a light.
You know, it's like he's there. Like the second that you go to sleep, he's coming out and he's going to get you. It's just terrifying.
Yeah.
I would think that would be simpler to achieve even now than trying to digitize.
But you know full well they would CGI the crap out of
they
that
would
now.
100% would.
Yeah.
And it would not be scary at all.
At all. At all.
Yeah, KBA's right. They did it in the remake. They screwed it up.
Oh.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
I didn't watch the remake because that's just
I did, but I tried to forget it.
Ugh.
What I love about that is he doesn't just pull his head straight back. He rolls it so that you get more of the makeup.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's so good.
Yeah, because you it's like a little bit at first, and then it's just like the music swells in this perfect way. It's
haunting.
It's very haunting. I love it. I love it.
Mm.
Gonna read a couple super chats real quick. KBA says, happy to see Conrad this side of the pond. I'd suggest taking him to Crystal's, but we want him to come back.
Yeah.
What's Crystal's?
It's some, I wouldn't put it as low rent as say Popeyes or Bojangles, but it's some low rent fast food. It's real low rent fast food.
I keep asking about Taco Bell and Denny's.
I will take you to Taco Bell, but
if you like diarrhea.
I mean, Sal says, I'm awake now. Return of the Jedi when Vader is with Luke on the catwalk and says, it's too late for me, son. A moment when Anakin breaks through and is aware of Vader and his atrocities, believes himself unredeemable. Yeah.
Yeah. Great moment from the Return of the Jedi is a frustrating beast because where the story itself got compromised in many ways by a lazy George Lucas who just wanted to cauterize the whole story off because he was grumpy or whatever. The fact is that a lot of the emotional story beats for Luke and Anakin remain untarnished in the doing of Return of the Jedi. It's a lot of the rest of it. So Return of the Jedi has some of the most satisfying emotional moments in the whole trilogy, even though it has the most compromised story compared to the rest of the plan. So it's a grab bag of frustration.
One more comment from Sal. He says, unrelated, does Conrad also sleep on top of the blankets and sheets like an absolute vagabond psychopath, or was it just me?
That's just you, Sal. I'm sorry. But we still love you. We do.
You outed yourself on that one, Sal. You outed yourself.
We weren't going to say anything, Sal. But when Sal stayed with us, he did. He slept on top. I was like, I washed those sheets just for you. And he's like, no. Maybe he didn't trust that my sheets were clean. I don't know. I promise they were. All right, Conrad, it is your turn, my friend.
It is. Yeah, it's my final clip. And talking about...
Let's see if I can figure out which one it is.
Great moments in recent movies. So this is from an animated movie.
Oh, yeah.
And in particular, what I like about this one is just the detail in the character animation, and I'll explain why afterwards. But this is How to Train Your Dragon. And the great thing about this is it's a DreamWorks animation, so I wasn't expecting much. When it started and it was big and rambunctious and had sort of pop culture references, I thought, oh, I'm giving this 5 minutes and I'm going to turn it off.
Mhm.
And then it just transforms into this beautiful character study with incredible cinematography by Roger Deakin and this beautiful score. And there is this moment which comes at the end of a very long sequence that I'd love to show you, which is where the main character is getting the dragon's trust, and this is the climax of that scene.
He looks like Jasper.
Yeah, Jasper's easier to make friends with, though.
A little bit.
I mean, if it were Winston, I'd be sort of
right. Yeah.
But yeah, the moment, the detail that I love in that is that when Toothless first approaches his hand, there is a little hesitation.
Yeah, he kind of goes a little bit,
and then he does
it. I do. I've never seen this movie.
Really?
Yeah. But it kind of feels like maybe I should now. Would you? It sounds like you would recommend it.
I would recommend it. Yeah, we should have a box of tissues though.
Good.
Because
is the entire trilogy good?
It's all right, but I don't think you ever surpass the perfection of the first one in terms of the storytelling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It looks. I've heard good things about that film for many years.
I've always wanted to see it in the theater,
Mhm.
just because the flying sequences are so
Mhm.
gorgeous.
Mhm.
But your home theater would be
Well, I
very
mean, you're
good.
welcome to knock yourself out. Go for it.
There we go.
Micah Henry says that there is an amazing new Star Wars docuseries on Peacock called Icons. They interview Marsha Lewis. It's amazing.
Marsha Lucas.
Sorry. So I was talking too fast. It's amazing how she's given her due.
I've wanted to see it, but I haven't been able to get on that service.
Yeah, they love to make things on these niche.
Yeah.
Services,
Can't get to
so-
anything.
yeah.
Thanks, streaming. If I could just buy a disc, I'd own it. But
No.
whatevs.
No. All right, so let me see if I can figure out what Michael's last clip is.
Well, I have one last clip, and then we have some clips that are pulled for other reasons today. My last clip today would be my anime clip.
Well, there's also the one from
Big Re-
Sneakers.
And there's also the one from Big Red 1.
So you want me to do the anime one?
No, we can do the one from Sneakers. Let's do that one.
Okay. So you want to set it up, or you?
Sneakers is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a brilliant movie that bridges that gap in our history. It's on the cusp of the world becoming digital and becoming connected and becoming an internet world, but it hasn't quite gotten there yet. And so we still have one foot in both filmmaking and in human life firmly in the analog world. But the dangers of the potential of what a networked world can do are very prescient in this film. And the things that happen at the climax of this film, for which I'm going to show you a little bit of, they're even more relevant now than they were then. It's just this beautiful moment for a multitude of reasons that I'll describe afterwards. But to set this up, Robert Redford's character has been hired to try and get what he's calling the black box out of this facility that was stolen from him, or stolen from the government by an old hacking friend of his in college, back when computers still used punch cards and all that kind of stuff. And he knows that his friend is going to be up to no good with this box that can unlock any single computer network in America, any government, Pentagon computer, air traffic control, the power grid. Whoever has this box can do all sorts of horrible things to the infrastructure of the United States. And so he knows he's got to get it back from his friend, and he's gotten it back, but then his friend encounters him on the rooftop as he's trying to get away. And this is what happens.
You could have shared this with me. I know. You could have had the power. I don't want it. Don't you know the places we can go with this?
Yeah, I do. There's nobody there.
Exactly. The world isn't run by weapons anymore, or energy, or money. It's run by little ones and zeros, little bits of data. It's all just electrons. I don't care.
You've got this dynamic where the villain is accurately spelling out what we know to be true now. And this was over 30 years ago, which is it's going to be the information and who controls the information on this digital network, that we're eventually going to call the internet, and who controls all of that PR spin and all that stuff. That's what's going to be the real power in the world. It's going to be all the data. The data can wipe out your bank account, or you can rob someone else of billions. The data can do all this stuff. And Robert Redford's human point is, he's like, do you know the places you can go with this? And Robert Redford says, yeah, I do. There's nobody there. That's my point. It's like, yeah, go for it. Have all the power, have all the this, have all the that. But at the end of the day, it's still nothing about it is real. All of it is just this empty, greedy pursuit. And you're going to have to do that by yourself, old friend, because I'm not going to go on this dumb journey with you. And I just love that bit. I love that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for sure.
Integrity is always good.
Have you seen that movie?
I have, yeah.
I love it.
A long time ago.
I had never even heard of it. And Michael kept saying he wanted me to watch it. And I was like, I don't really want to watch a shoe movie.
Not about shoes.
It's got River Phoenix in it with his longest, floppiest hair.
I know.
That's true.
It's true. Yes.
And it's got Dan Aykroyd at his funniest, in my opinion, where he's giving off all those weird, because he gets to play himself for the first time in a film. He gets to be full on tinfoil hat, weird alien conspiracy theory guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's acting in that movie.
No, that's my whole point.
Just absolutely just.
It's so great. Woo! It's so great. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, hey, Crease, were you in CIA in 1972? Yeah, why? Did you know the deputy director for something was there the day before the Managua earthquake? And he's like, now what are you saying? The CIA caused the Managua earthquake? Well, I can't prove it.
Jesus. All right. Well, we are at 90 minutes. So
okay.
Do we want to do a couple more, or do we?
Well, we have one clip that's definitely here for the purposes of something happening today.
Okay.
Which is today, I've been told, is the launch of the first of the 3 David Tennant, Catherine Tate's Doctor Who specials that are launching the new era of Doctor Who. So we have a clip here that we feel is one of the best short. I had to edit it for time, but it's one of the best short moments in movie TV to salute that happening today. So for those of you who haven't seen Doctor Who or anything like that, the bit for that is simply that Catherine Tate's character of Donna Noble showed up as a cameo character, featured cameo character. I believe it was about a year prior, as just a one-off, and everybody thought she was just a one-off. And then suddenly, for the launch of his final season, you find out that her character has been looking for the Doctor ever since because of her one encounter with him in that one adventure. And he doesn't know that. And she's been searching for him by trying to find the weirdest things going on in the city and hoping that he pops up. And then finally, because she's, her life hasn't been going all that well. She's, whatever. And then finally in that moment, while she is actually running up against a serious interstellar conspiracy in her own right, she happens to look through the room across the thing, and there he is on the window washing platform, and she's like, what the hell? And I love it because it's this beautiful bit of true visual storytelling where they know that you're not going to be able to hear dialogue through the glass, and they have to communicate with one another, but it doesn't matter because film is a visual medium. And so through the music cues and the comedic timing, you're able to sell this reunion of these two characters so effectively.
It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I do love this scene. It's really great. I have one more that I just have to show something from Buffy because I have to.
Yeah, and then I have to show my anime clip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple of Buffy clips, but this is probably the shortest one. It's great. It's a very kind of nothing moment, but it's got Brian Thompson in it, so it's a win. Also, the way he delivers his line is the way I always hear this phrase whenever I say it. Like, I always think of his delivery of this moment, so it's great. So here we go.
I just wanted to start over. Be like everybody else. Have some friends, maybe a dog. But no. had to come here. You couldn't go suck on some other town. Who are you? Don't you know?
I don't care.
I don't care. He purrs. I don't know. I just love it so
It's
much.
the subversion of the heroic entrance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the villain that finally doesn't monologue.
It's also because he is such a huge dude and Sarah Michelle is so small. It really in a lovely way for this it's the first episode of the show. So it sets off like she's this tiny little, Powerpuff Girl and he's this huge, and he does kind of kick her butt in this moment, but it's great. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So
the final clip that I wanted to show here was what I was hoping would cap off what I said at the beginning, which was that you're always finding new moments if you're not stuck in your same 20 franchises. If you're continuing to watch things and spread your wings a little bit and learn about your media, whether it's new television shows, new movies, new genres, new formats, new whatever, you're going to run into more moments, which will become nostalgic for you in the nearer term. Like you don't have to just stop here with all this. There was this series that I really loved that I started watching a few months ago. I burned through the whole series and it has so many great moments, but this moment is probably one of the most hilarious things that I didn't see coming when it happened. And it had me laughing to the point I had to pause. And I think we're going to, oh no, are we back? Are we back? Okay. So here you go. Here's my final little clip.
できない方が悪いっていう、そういうかっこいいところが大嫌い。どうして僕？ごめん。なんか甘っちょろいこと言ってたからついカッとなって。
So the reason I found this so funny is because one, obviously it's just funny on its face, but no pun intended. But the other reason is that every genre has its cliches and its tropes and things like that. And when you jump into a new genre for yourself, you're not as familiar with all of that stuff. And you start to get familiar quickly if you absorb things like we do. And so in this case, I don't know much about anime, but I started to learn about this particular subgenre. And I was told that there was this thing called the undeserved slap. I'd heard about it. I didn't know anything about it. And in the context of this clip, though, it is actually a calculated undeserved slap, because what you don't know if you haven't seen the show, it's sort of like a Diet Twilight Zone kind of show where there's sort of a phenomena problem that happens that they have to sort out. They have to figure out what the science fiction of it is. They got to get around or whatever. And in this case, it's the fact that those are two sisters arguing. The blonde sister, though, is actually the sister with the dark hair and vice versa. They've accidentally switched bodies because of this phenomena, whatever it is. And the phenomena is different in every episode. Well, the girl with the dark hair, who is actually the guy's girlfriend, who's now inhabiting the body of the blonde girl. Can you follow me on this one?
It's a Freaky Friday situation.
Yeah. She's an actress. So her younger sister's having to basically take her physical form to all these jobs. So the older sister is really irritated by the fact that her younger sister's being this brat that's going into all kinds of panic mode or whatever. So she wants to shut her up, but she also can't mar her own face for the job the next day. So she just hits her boyfriend, which I thought was just hilarious. I was just, so yeah, I guess my point in saying that is just keep being curious about movies and TV. Keep watching new things.
Yeah, I think it's really nice to be able to get your friends or people you trust and care about to like recommend their favorites to you and actually sit down and watch them, because people will recommend stuff to me all the time and I don't watch it.
Right.
But then when I finally do, like Conrad's been here, and so he's exposed me to a bunch of different movies and shows that I've never seen before, and they're amazing. And I like some of them I still can't get out of my head. Like we watched Ordinary People, which I'm now in love with. We watched this really hilarious clip that I can't ever remember the name of on YouTube. There's a great Netflix comedy special by Bo Burnham called Inside, which is amazing. Will really get inside your head, pun intended. So yeah, I mean, lots of great new stuff that I have just been exposed to that I'm now obsessed with. Someone mentions the Buffy movie, and I do have one tiny 13-second clip from it that I'm going to play really quickly just because I did pull a clip from the Buffy movie. And it is one of the reasons that I chose this as a topic, because she has this little throwaway line that she says to Luke Perry, and it has so much meaning for me, and I just want to just pull it up really quickly.
You know, Buffy, you're not like other girls.
Yes, I am.
And I just love that because it's like Buffy is such a kick-ass character. And the fact that she is like other girls, like there are so many ways you could take that. I don't know exactly what the filmmakers intended, but I sort of take it to be like she has wants and needs like anybody, but she has to be a hero.
Yeah.
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 Which I love. So I have a few chats I want to read really quickly. Elwood Jacob says, one of my favorite movie moments is the opening of the original Blues Brothers, where Jake is picked up by Elwood. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but
I've never seen it. Isn't that shameful?
Oh, yes. Terrible.
I just assumed that it was a musical. Musicals and me don't usually get on, but I don't think it's
I don't think it's a traditional musical.
I think it's a film with musical numbers in it.
Could be. It's been a really long time since I've seen it. But yeah. Thanks for the super chat. K-Dog Broadcasting says, most quotable movie pound for pound for each of you. I would say mine is Heather's. F me gently with a chainsaw is a great line. Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast is a great line. It'll be very is a great line. I mean, there's just so many. It's probably the one I would quote the most. And I actually had a clip that I pulled for it, but it is not something I could show on YouTube without getting immediately pulled down for weapon violence.
Right.
I don't even want to say the word, but it's a scene where Christian Slater's character stands up in the lunchroom and fires blanks at two bully jock students who are messing with him.
Yeah.
It's quite funny.
Edgy.
What about you?
Oh, for me, it's probably Aliens.
Mm.
There's huge swathes of that. Just, well, I mean, the famous line from Sigourney Weaver, "Get away from her."
Mm-hmm.
Won't complete that one live, but game over, man, game over. Did anyone ever mistake you for a man? No. Have you? Yeah, that I screwed that up. But yeah. So much of it is so memorable. I love Aliens.
True.
Yeah.
Michael?
What?
What's your most quotable movie?
Pound for pound.
Most quotable?
He's thinking, everyone.
I don't know.
I think he's going to say, I will answer for him. Michael would say Deadpool 2.
Deadpool 2 or the first 45 minutes of Ghostbusters.
Or the first 45 minutes of Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters is pretty amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scott Knudsen says, favorite Buffy the Vampire Slayer moment. Buffy says, I'm going to put a stake in her heart and cut her head off. Giles, we don't know if she's a vampire. Buffy says, you'd be surprised how many things that'll kill. Amazing. Zantara says, was helping my mother get out Christmas decorations and she was driving me bonkers. Glad I could escape that for a bit and enjoying this fun. Thank you for the fun time. Thank you so much for joining us. So now that we're sort of at the end of our clips, I was going to, let's see, we've got my show outline here. We want to talk about what we're doing next time. Oh, actually, first, let me show you guys the all of the hints that were in our image from this past time. Okay, so here was our cuts teaser, just to remind you all. And here it is with all of the different things highlighted. So On the far left, you've got noodle salad. You've got the adipose. You've got a steak right next to the girl's pigtails for Buffy. You've got the pigtails for Wednesday Addams. You've got the emerald from
Return to
Return
Oz.
to Oz, and the
Yeah.
One Ring, which I didn't end up showing the clip from Lord of the Rings, but the disc from Sneakers, marshmallow as a term for a fan of Veronica Mars, the star from Captain America. I have a clip from the Crow that I didn't show, but yeah, there's just a bunch of different little movie things in there, so it's pretty fun. We had fun making the clue for sure.
Mhm, we did.
But we have a new clue for next month, for December. Conrad, what is our word going to be for next month?
I think it might be our longest word ever.
It's certainly the most 2-cent word. Like, it's a very, we reach deep into the dictionary to pull this word out.
Yeah, so challenge for the next month is not only try to guess what this episode is going to be about, but try and work this word into an everyday conversation with your colleagues.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's transmogrify.
Transmogrify.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like it's very festive because
It
we've got
does.
red and green. We've got all sorts of strange things happening here. What in the world will we be talking about?
Yes.
We will be posting this in a week or so on our socials, and then we will ask you guys to guess what you think we will be talking about in December. We look forward to that. Although, sadly, you won't be here with us in person.
No, but I'm sure you'll be glad of the break by that point.
No, absolutely not. So that does wrap up this episode of Dreamland. You can find our show notes for all of our super chats. I will get those in a moment. You can find all of our show notes with links to all of our sources at retroblasting.com/dreamland. And I will read the last remaining. Looks like we've gotten a couple more chats. So if I can find how to get there. I don't see any more super chats. I've already read them all.
Oh, okay.
Until then, you can follow me and Conrad on Retroblasting and Movie Oubliette, respectively, on all social media outlets. And you can email us at thedreamlandpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye. And now I've got to take a moment awkwardly to find the end title. Okay, bye.
Bye.